Andasyanganangana Salakya Chaksurun Minitam Yanatashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dharati Swaparandikam Vandeham Sri Guru Suyata Parakamam Sri Chaitanya Mano Vaishnavam Sha Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakanvitam Sham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinu Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhikanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pango Mamamadir Matsavasha Paramboja Radha Madana Mohanam Sriman Rasarasarambi Vamsi Vada Karsan Vaneshanopi Upanata Sri Saram Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Shima Shanishto Sri Sri Radha Shila Govinda Deva Prasalabi Seva Manushmarami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmani Taya Chajigati Taya Krishnaya Govinaya Namo Namaha Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Guru Ajaja Mangalam Panidi Kakso Mangalayatano Hari Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Vidmahi Vishnu Padnicha Dhimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Chaudesari Hari Priya Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Dhiradite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanasute Devi Pranamani Hari Prem Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamani Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvishesa Sunyvari Praskata Desana Si Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Good morning to Rob, who's like the fountain in Yellowstone, old faithful, always here, always consistent, day after day, even when I was unable to jump on board because of the Jopathon morning and the retreat in Texas and other things that were spin-offs from that. Rob was there every morning, I noticed, waiting to get in, even though I wasn't here to let him in necessarily. So thank you, Rob. Consistency is the #1 quality for success in spiritual life. You have it. Brent, also another frequent visitor. When he's not out of the country, he's always here on our forum in our Facebook section, and lately been giving some very good verses in addition to the points that we make, as well as Carmen, another wordsmith is Carmen. Hare Krishna and good morning. And here is Govinda Dev, who, while he hasn't shown us any poetry to date, he has been started giving some wonderful, wonderful Bhagavatam classes in the temple. I'm happy to be surrounded by such talented luminaries on this Transcendental Tuesday. And you might be interested to know that Bhai Bobby's surgery went well yesterday. No worries. The surgeon said it was the cataract in her right eye was a little thick, and so took an extra bit of cutting, and it might take a few more days than normal to heal. So she can't sleep on that eye. She can't press that eye, touch it, rub it, scratch it, get it wet. She's got a protective shield over the eye and some sunglasses when she goes out into the light of day. And there is a follow-up appointment today at 11 o'clock. But so far, so good. These surgeries have become pretty routine nowadays. Very seldom is there anything that goes wrong. So we'll look forward to Vi having 20/20 vision in her right eye in 2 weeks' time. The same for her left eye. Yesterday, we talked about how it's important in the repetitive chanting and in the audibilization of the mantra. In addition to that, the state of the heart should be to please Krishna. Knowing that if Krishna doesn't extend his mercy, there's nothing we can do to force him to accept us back to home, back to God, and back into his association, which we voluntarily left quite some time ago. Aside from Krishna's mercy, it's not going to do much good to chant Hare Krishna. So one might say, well, Krishna's mercy is such a rare, such an exalted thing. Only 1 in a million get it. Well, Krishna's mercy is not withheld. Krishna is poised. Krishna is more eager to give his mercy than we are to attain it. And yet, as unlikely as it seems, the number of people who are willing to call out with heartfelt devotion are very few. It's not a difficult thing. Lord, I've forgotten you. I've lived without your guidance, your direction, your protection for millions of lifetimes. It's not working out for me. I finally realized it by the grace of a realized soul, of a spiritual master. So, Lord, please take me back. Take me back to your home where I belong. Or the lyrics from a wonderful song that Mangalananda wrote in the 70s. Take me back to your home where I belong. It would seem such a simple thing. There'd be millions and millions of people going back every second, but it's a rare thing to call out with heartfelt devotion. Gajendra is doing that in the lake with the crocodile devouring his leg, unable to extricate himself, being pulled more and more deeply into the waters, and his strength flagging day by day. Gajendra finally comes to that point where he calls out with helplessness, with helpless devotion, and his life is successful. Now, you would have think that throughout history, there must have been millions and millions of elephants that have been grabbed at the watering hole by the crocodiles who lurk there, specifically knowing that every living entity has to drink. So if you're patient enough, you don't have to chase prey, but the prey will come to you at the watering hole. Presumably, there have been many, many instances throughout history where elephants and other four-legged prey have been captured by the crocodiles at the banks of the river and perished. They would give up their life before calling out helplessly for the Lord. To the very last moment, they're relying on their strength, their evasive tactics, their power, their abilities to extricate them from this situation. But we don't realize that as soon as we took birth in this material world, as soon as we took a birth in a material body, we were in a irremediable situation. We were in a situation that we could not remedy. We just didn't realize it. It took a crocodile taking Gajendra down before he realized that he wasn't just now in a dangerous situation. He'd been in a dangerous situation from the time he took birth. And from the time he took birth before that, and the time he took birth before that, we've been in this dangerous material world willingly, voluntarily, enthusiastically, eagerly for millions and millions of lifetimes. We keep coming back. Well, I didn't quite get it right last time. Death interrupted my plans, but this life, everything will fall into place. I'll achieve all my desires. This has been going on. This self-delusion has been going on for perhaps millions and millions and millions of years. The only counteraction, we think it's flu season, so I'll get a vaccine. COVID's back again. I'll get a vaccine. I don't want to die of heart disease, so I'll exercise. I'll eat whole foods. I'll take blood pressure medicine so my heart won't work overtime and I won't die of a heart attack. We're constantly identifying problems, identifying situations which can be fatal and lethal, and then we're counteracting them with exercise, with de-stressors, with the right type of food. Constantly, or maybe there's someone at the office who's just as talented as we are, and we're both in line for a promotion. We're both equally qualified. So what can I do to tip the scale in my favor? What can I do to counteract their eligibility, their talents, their abilities, so that I get the promotion, they don't get the promotion? Or we're in traffic. How can I make that green light? How can I get through the intersection before the light turns yellow? It's a constant Constant meditation. This happens, how will I counteract? I got a traffic ticket a couple of years ago. I forget what the offense. Oh yeah, I was going 37 in a school zone. It was during a vacation period. There weren't any students in school, but I was going 37. I think it was a 30-mile-an-hour zone. So I had to go to traffic school, and you can take traffic school online now. You don't have to appear in person. So the point they were making over and over and over again is good driving is defensive driving. The best drivers constantly run through what if scenarios. They constantly run through in their mind worst case scenarios. What if someone runs the light from the right? What if someone runs the light from the left? What if someone drops something on the floor of their car, flagging their attention, and crosses over the center lane coming head on for me? What if? This is good driving. And what it is constantly imagining disastrous scenarios and pre-thinking what you're going to do to counteract that. This is our life. This is our life. This is material life. Pratikriya yashihe kudashid saisham saiva karam. When Vidura, the Kurukshetra war finished, all of Dritrarathra's 100 sons were killed by Bhima, and the blind king was living at the hospitality of Maharaj Yudhisthira in the Hastinapur palace. Yudhisthira was coming and offering him obeisances every day, and in his kindness, Yudhisthira was still referring to him as king, knowing that Dritarashtra, although he'd been born blind, always wanted to be king. So Vidura came back, and he said, Pratikriya niyashiha kudashid sadashim bhagu. You need to realize that we cannot counteract time. With all your plan-making business and all your to-do lists and all your scurrying around, we are nothing more than the mouse who is already in the sights of the black snake. The black snake has already targeted us. He's already zoomed in on us. It's like a plane. The missile is already locked onto the plane. The plane just doesn't know it yet. Plane's flying, la-di-da-da-da, what a beautiful day. I love flying. Passengers are having a highball or drinking their coffee or watching a movie. And they're all clueless. They're all oblivious to the fact that there's a missile which will not be thwarted, which will hit them, which cannot be avoided by the slow-moving passenger plane. They've got moments before impact, yet they're all completely relaxed, engaged in reading the newspaper. They're reading the newspaper. What's going on in Israel? What's going on in Ukraine? And the next minute, who knows where they're going to be? Who knows in what womb they're going to be impregnated? They're going to be embedded. Who knows what their future is? And we're like that. We're like this complacent passengers in a commercial airliner that has already been locked on by the missile. Time, death is locked onto us from the moment we were conceived within our mother's womb. And if we were lucky enough, because 1 in 4 babies in this country gets killed in the womb, if we're lucky enough, we'll see the light of day. But every single waking and even sleeping moment of material life is an effort to counteract some other sidestep, some other dodge, that which is inevitable, which is cruel death. We just had Vaibhavi's birthday at 78. At 78, it's pretty obvious, pretty self-evident to say, Vaibhavi told me, I'm not so enthusiastic about birthdays anymore because I have so few left and my race is almost run, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty, it's pretty self-evident that at 78, 79, we're, one step in the grave. Death has got his hand on his shoulder. We're under the shadow. We're under the cloud of death. Could happen at any time. We've already exceeded the average lifespan. That's pretty self-evident. To say I'm 78 years dead, nobody's going to argue the accuracy of a statement like that. But it's equally true to say at the age of 1 year, at the first birthday, I'm 1 year dead. At the fifth birthday, I'm 5 years dead. At the 10th birthday, I'm 10 years dead, and so on and so forth. Because from the moment that you took a material body, even when you were just a little emulsion, a little pea-like embryo within the womb of your mother, 3 nights after conception, you were already in the jaws of the cruel snake named death. And there is no way, no matter how educated you become in the future, no matter how much money you have in the bank, no matter how athletic you are, no matter how well you eat, no matter how much you exercise, no matter how you have mental health or the lack of it, there's nothing you can do to counteract the black snake of death. You're already dead from the time you are born. So when we chant, we should follow in the footsteps of Gajendra. It may seem easy. Oh yeah, I've chanted so many times. Gajendra offered a flower. He plucked. He stopped pulling his leg, which the crocodile wanted to devour, and he plucked with his trunk from the muck of the lake a flower and offered to the Lord, seeking the Lord's power. Krishna, you're the root of creation, the fruit of the Vedas, the absolute truth that plays on his flute, the ever-existing youth. Your lotus feet are adored by Lord Brahma, and Shiva will not leave you even for a beat. You're the Lord of all creatures. Your features are unlimited. You're the ingredient of all. Whether you have hands, claws, jaws, or paws, they are all your parts and parcels. Those who are smart, engage in your devotional service with all their heart, and never depart from the hearth of your sheltering breast. Lord, I confess. That's what we need to do. We need to come to the Lord and confess that we've messed up, repressed our service, failed the test. Who can give up their false ego? Who can give up their lifelong, lifelong habit of trying to do it their way? Trying to rely on our power, our intelligence, our skill. Would sound easy, but in all of history, we only know of one elephant that did it, Gajendra. He says, Lord, I've messed up. I've repressed my service. I've failed the test. And yet I'm thirsty for your mercy, which is greater than my mistakes. I've heard that all it takes to awaken your protection is a single cry of helpless affection. Lord, in spite of my shame, I'm calling your name in the middle of the fight. Please reclaim me from the might of the crocodile's bite. When I'm released from the teeth of the croc, block ignorance in my life and lock me into your devotional service. Lord, let my purpose rise once again to the surface. I'm knocking at your door. Please keep me close from now till evermore. When the Lord heard the eloquent prayers of the elephant, Lord's in our heart. He knows if we're just faking it, if we're just pretending, or if we're truly having put aside all other resources and options, truly calling on the Lord and the Lord only with helpless affection. He knows. When he heard the eloquent prayers of the elephant, he's external, he's internal. So he's hearing externally, he's hearing internally. And just like you can smell by the aroma, you can smell what type of flower it is, whether it's a rose or marigold or jasmine. Krishna can smell your motives. He can smell your intentions. He's closer to you than a brother. He's closer to you than a brother. I'm getting an 800 scam call here. I'll just have to let it play its course. Closer to you than a brother. But what Gajendra is doing, and Krishna knows it, is that Gajendra is calling out with one-pointed, single-minded attention and concentration. He has given up all other options and thrown himself wholeheartedly at the lotus feet of the Lord, just as it's described, just as Krishna recommends in the Bhagavad Gita. Vyavishatmika buddhi ekakuru bahushakayanandastu buddhi avyashayan. Those who are Krishna conscious are identified are known by their single-mindedness. It's not that devotees pick Krishna and leave aside all other kinds of options, denigrate, dismiss all other kinds of paths. When you pick Krishna, when you choose Krishna, you're choosing the root, yata tura mula nisechin tatskanda bhujo pranopadesh tataiva chara machuteja. When you pick the infallible, imperishable, immortal, supreme personality of Godhead as your sole shelter, then the fact is that you have watered the root of the tree. You've tapped into the source of it. There is nothing outside of Krishna. Akrura, when he saw Krishna, Krishna asked him, you've seen me, now can I give you some boon? Can I give you some wealth, some min, some way? Can I show my favor in some way? And Akrura said, what are you talking about, Lord? I've seen you. I've seen you. That covers all of it. That covers all of it. It's not that I've seen you, now I want someone else, or now I want something else, or I'm going to use you as a platform to go beyond you, because Lord, there is nothing beyond you. Bahunam Jamanam Gyanavam Vasudeva Samahatma Sudha. After many, many births and death, those who are in knowledge know that there is nothing beyond Krishna. There is nothing a part of Krishna. There is nothing outside of Krishna. There's nothing not contained in Krishna. So Akrura says, Lord, why are you asking me to ask you for something? I've got you. That's everything. That's everything. Akrura said, some or other I'm a relative in this material world. Somehow or other I have a bodily connection to Krishna. He calls me uncle. He treats me with affection. And because I am older in terms of physical chronology, I'm older than Krishna. Krishna being the perfect exemplar, setting the perfect example for human society, he bows down to me. He calls me uncle. And when he embraces me with affection, he says, Akrura says, that's it. My life will be successful. This lifetime, having taken birth as a devotee and in the family of Krishna, being called by name by Krishna, being embraced by Krishna, that's it. That's it. It's the culmination of millions and millions of births. There's nothing more to achieve. There's nothing more to be gained. There's nothing more to be learned. Simply to be recognized by Krishna in the way that Akrura was recognized is all that one can or should desire. And Akrura goes on to say that those who are not recognized by the Lord, who do not comport themselves in such a way that the Lord notices them, are to be pitied even by the rocks, even by the non-moving living beings like rocks and trees. To act in such a way that Krishna notices you. That's it. Look at all that Kunti underwent. She lost her husband. There were many years she wasn't able to have intimate physical relationships with him because of his curse. They went off into the forest. She gave up comfortable life in the palace where she had any number of serving maids. And with her younger life, Madri, and with Pandu, they went into the forest. And gradually, though she couldn't have congress with Pandu, there was an arrangement made due to her previous association with the sun god, that one by one she could have Yudhishthira, Bhisma, Arjuna, Nakul, and Sahdev through various demigods. But she never enjoyed intimacy with her husband. They had to live in the austere circumstances of the forest. And then finally her husband was struck dead at a young age, suddenly. She's left alone, a single mother, raising 5 children. She has to go back and depend upon Dritrarathra and Duryodhana for the maintenance of her children. She has no other recourse. Every day is full of fear, anxiety. They can't even sleep at night for fear that someone will come in to assassinate the children. They're in the palace in Hastinapur, but it's as if there are snakes in your home, snakes who want to do you harm, snakes who want to kill you with their poisonous bite. Kunti never had a moment of domestic happiness in her life. Then, on top of everything, no sooner the Pandavas get successful they're sent to a desert-like area, and out of the desert-like environment of the Khandrapasta region, they build a capital greater than the traditional capital of Hastinapur. And what happens? Duryodhana, Sakuni cook up a crooked game of dice and cheat the Pandavas of everything and send them to exile for 14 years. As a mother, as a wife, as a queen, think of all that Kunti went through. And yet at the end of it all, because she'd stayed in faith with Krishna, she'd relied in all of her dangers, the burning of the house of black, the attempt to poison her sons, the cheating of their kingdom, the insulting of their wife, the exile. In all of that, her faith never wavered from Krishna. She, even though she may not have understood everything that was happening, she never departed from the firm faith that this is all within Krishna's plan. He's still on the throne. He still has a great plan for my life. And after all their enemies were killed, the Pandavas were restored to their throne in Hastinapur. Everything was adjusted. They were rewarded for their faithfulness with twice what they had lost previously. And then Krishna declares that it's time for him to go home to Dwarka. It's been long enough since the inhabitants of Dwarka have had his darshan. And much as he hates to leave his good friends, the Pandavas, he has to be a conscientious king to his citizens in Dwarka. And as he's taking leave, Kunti comes up and delivers to him some of the most famous, heartfelt prayers in all of spiritual history. And as a result of everything, as the culmination of a life of miseries and reverses and betrayals and disenfranchisement, and then in reaction to the beautiful faith-filled prayers that Kunti tenders after all of that, which indicate that her heart was pure, her motives were right, she depended on none other than Krishna in all of those circumstances. Krishna, Pritaitam Kalaparai Parinotanam Mandam Jashavai Mohayami Basami. Krishna smiled. Krishna smiled at Kunti with affection and love in his eyes. Na parayaham niravaja. So Sadhu, Krishna says, for such as Kunti, such devotees, stalwart, staunch devotees, that no matter what happens, no matter how they're tested, they never depart from my lotus feet. Krishna recognizes those devotees. He rewards them. He provides the perfection, the culmination, perhaps of millions of lifetimes, by bestowing his moon-like smile. The moon rays have the ability to cool. In the burning fire of this material world, there is no other means of refreshment. There is no other means of escape. There is no other means of extrication other than the moon-like recognition which comes through the smile of Lord Krishna. And Akura says that if that's not your goal, if it is not your goal in life to somehow other work in such a way as to be eligible for the favor of Krishna, then you are to be pitied like the rocks and the trees, the non-moving living entities. Ultimately, whether Krishna shows favor, blessings, recognizes us, gathers us back to home, back to God, that's up to him. But we can aspire for eligibility. We can work in such a way, talk in such a way, think in such a way, act in such a way, dress in such a way, comport ourselves in such a way that we become eligible for Krishna's mercy. We can practice the elements of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Shmaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasham, Atmamiridam. We can practice the 9 processes of devotional service, or 7 of them, or 6 of them, or 5 of them, or 3 of them, with heartfelt devotion, feeling ourselves helpless, feeling that the only remedy in this material world, the only entity that can counteract death itself, is Krishna. And if we do it purely and open-heartedly, And then we make ourselves eligible for Krishna's mercy. And then it's up to Krishna. In England, people consider that your life is successful if you've achieved a knighthood. And knighthoods are bestowed by the queen. There's nothing you can do to force the queen to give you a knighthood. But you can make yourself eligible. You can put yourself in the pool of eligible candidates for knighthood by serving the country selfishly, dispassionately, by becoming a great citizen of the UK. And if you do that, there's a good chance that you will come to the notice of the government. You will be mentioned to the Queen. You will get approval. The Queen will call you to Buckingham Palace. And in a very gorgeous ceremony full of meaning, she will put the sword on your left shoulder, put the sword on your right shoulder, and then you call you Sir so-and-so and such and such. I don't know what they do, what the appellation is for women that are knighted. But then everybody considers that you are amongst the topmost citizens of the UK. You have the keys to the country, you might say. So last analysis, we cannot force Krishna to show us mercy, but we can act in such a way that Krishna notices us. Yat sevana charana padam haritu vejam sacha kaliram malamagram nashir vyaktamibod prekshala tere nihambhavanti. And what are the chances that Krishna will recognize the selfless service of his devotee? Pretty much about 150%. Yat sevana charana padma. Why? Because Krishna feels that his power, his attractiveness, by which even the goddess of fortune cannot leave his side even for a moment. Imagine the goddess of fortune is so attractive that people worship her to get a little bit of her favor, and yet she is not attracted to her followers. She gives them some benediction, and then she leaves right away. She's always pictured as standing. And devotees may want her to take up residence in their house. They may want her to sit down and make herself comfortable and spend some time. They may have a beautiful, elaborate altar, dedicate a special room in their house to Lakshmi and worship her every day. In spite of all that, she's not purchased by them. She may bless them. She may stop by just to say hello. She will not cross the threshold. She will not sit down. She will not take up residence. But even if she just comes to your door, you become fabulously wealthy, generation after generation after generation. And yet that Lakshmi cannot leave the lotus feet of Krishna even for a second, who cannot stay anywhere for a second. That same Lakshmi cannot leave Krishna for a second. What to speak of one Lakshmi? Sahasra Yuga Chintamani Pakara Shadmashuka Lakshmi Vitishu Sarabhya Vipa Lakshmi Sahas Sadbrahma Sevimanma Govinda. Millions and millions of Lakshmis cannot leave Krishna's lotus feet, even for a second. Krishna thinks that the reason I am so attractive to the goddess of fortune is because I take the dust from the feet of my devotees on my head. And of course, Krishna is going to smile at his devotees because he credits the devotees with all of his supreme qualities. Aishwarya, Shamagasha, Viryasha, Jnanam, Vairagya, Shadam, Bhagavan, my wealth, my strength, my fame, my knowledge, my beauty, my humility, my wealth. He says it comes only because I take the dust from the lotus feet of my devotees and put them on my head. Considering all this, what are the chances that Krishna is going to bestow his favor on a pure-hearted devotee? Probably about 500%. About 500%. One devotee says, Naprema Shravanadi Bhakti Rapa Vayoga Gyana Vashubhakava Kriyada Hojat Hinakari Mshara Vicheda Hey Gopi Jana Balaviyati Vyatashi Haha Madasaiva Matu. The devotee is saying, Naprema Shravanadi, I don't have any love for Krishna. In his humility, course he has love for Krishna, but he doesn't present himself as such. He doesn't have any other pretensions in his heart except for the hope that he will get the favor, come to the notice of Krishna. Prema Shravanadi. He says, I don't have any qualities for hearing and chanting. You know, Lord Chaitanya said the same thing. Namaliki Bahodani Tatapitani Sharane. Lord Chaitanya in his humility said the same thing. It's typical of devotees. I don't have any love for you. I don't have any prema. I don't, na prema shravanadi, bhakti rabi. I don't have any bhakti. But yoga, I don't have any yogi qualities. I don't have any education. I don't have any birth. I haven't done any pious activities. Na prema shravanadi, bhakti, yoga, jnana, vashubhaka. I don't have any auspiciity in my hand. Kriya, I haven't done anything for you. In his humilities, presenting himself in this way as one without qualifications. Lord, I'm not hoping to gain your favor because of the love in my heart, because of anything that I've done, because of my austerities, because of my birth, because of my influence. I understand right up front that I cannot attain your love, your favor by any material qualification. So then, after all of that, of basically and apparently taking himself off the board, of basically disqualifying himself from coming to the notice of Krishna on the basis of wealth, of piety, of bhakti, of love of God, of devotional practices, of hearing and chanting, after basically saying, I'm not qualified in any of those areas, then he says, Gopi Madhu Haha Madhusaiva Madhu. In spite of my total bankruptcy in terms of purchasing power, in terms of qualification, I am still bothered. I cannot get rid of this hope. That hoping against hope is what it's called. The devotee says, I cannot stop myself from hoping against hope, that though there is no way that I can attain you, there is no way that you, being the high-minded Supreme Personality of Godhead that you are, inasmuch as you want me back more than I want to go myself, I cannot divest myself of this persistent hope that you will recognize me, that you will favor me with your loving smile, just as you did to Kunti, just as you did to Prahlad, just as you did to Dhruva Maharaj, just as you did to Gajendra on the occasion of his life-threatening situation, and consequently helplessly calling out for the name of the Lord. It takes only a second, but it may take the Lord. He does everything in his own good time. He has his own timetable. We can't hurry him along. We can't push him. We have to trust him that he's on the throne, that he knows what he's doing, that his favor will not come a minute too soon, a minute too late. And in the meantime, no matter how dark it may seem, no matter how hopeless circumstances may be at the present moment in our lives, if you're a devotee, we're actually a devotee, what do? We hope against hope. We hope against hope for the causeless mercy of the Lord. And that hope keeps us excited, keeps us looking forward to the future, bounces us out of bed in the morning, and sustains us through whatever comes our way. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This has been Transcendental Tuesday, and I didn't even get to our title. Based on something I was going to say, I titled this, "The Material World is Like a Shopping Mall." And we didn't even get to that point. In the notes, it was only the second sentence. So we spent 45 minutes on one sentence. It's unlimited. it's unlimited. It's like an ocean. And we just took a millionth part of one tiny grain of sand from the beach of the ocean of the nectar of devotion. But thank you for being with us, Rob, and we'll call on Rob for some of his verses pertinent to today's class as well. And let's see what we have. We have some verses from Brent, who says, "Don't try to cash in, serve with dispassion. Krishna will notice your attraction to his lotus feet. Don't try to cash in, serve with dispassion. Krishna will notice your attraction to his lotus feet." Beautiful. Elsewhere, Brent says in the comment section here, "Be like Queen Kunti. Don't pray for relief from trial. Aspire for Krishna's smile." You guys are actually listening, aren't you? There's nothing that tickles a communicator like myself more than to see through these verses, through this feedback, that you're actually listening, absorbing, and then giving it back to me in a very nice, condensed, poetic, beautiful way. Here's another one from Brent. "You can try to counteract problems while in your prime, but you won't escape the results of time." Beautiful. So brief, concise, and to the point. You can try to counteract problems while in your prime, but you won't escape the results of time. Here's Carmen. "From womb to tomb, your fate is set. Once you're born, you've met with death. Time takes all, and all will fall. Head to the Lord, even if you crawl." Oh, God, that was beautiful. Once more. "From womb to tomb, your fate is set. Once you're born, you've met with death. Time takes all, and all will fall. Head to the Lord, even if you crawl." Wow. Some of you are really talented and really devoted. I'd love to see some of these seed-like poems develop into, songs with 5 or 6 verses that we can eventually, and I would invite you all, Carmen, Brent, to come up on stage at a festival and present these as songs, musical background, maybe a dancer to accompany you. We're here to facilitate. We're here to give expression to your devotion, to your talents. And having said that, well, let me also thank others who came on board. Govinda Dave, as well as, of course, Brandon Carmen, by Bobby, who is 78 and 2 days, 78 and 2 days. And she's got a right eye now, which is 20/20 vision, if not even better. So parts of her getting older, while parts of her getting younger. She put emojis of 2 bulging eyes there. Natasha, once Natasha turns her mind to poetic expression and uses her AI skills, she's amazing as well. Bharat Patel. Bharat, I need to ask you about the date for your festive colors. I have to decide whether we're going to keep May 25th for Ogden or move it to another date. They were waiting for me to reserve the park. So as soon as you know, please let me know whether your Calgary Festive Colors is going to stay on May 25th. And thanks for joining. Atmaram Das. Shali Haribo, good morning. Shout out to Ephraim. And Chad Woolwright, otherwise known, I believe, as Dutch. Thank you, one and all. This has been Transcendental Tuesday. We'll be back with the actual theme, hopefully. This material is like a shopping mall. Tomorrow for Wisdom Wednesday. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Rob. Are you still there? What am I thinking?
Yes,
Oh my
Prabhuji.
gosh. What an idiot I am. Please.
No, not at all.
I almost forgot the best part. Please go ahead.
I didn't get many today, but hopefully they're worth it.
I'm sure.
There is purpose to the strife to live a faithful devotional life.
Yeah. Right on.
True surrender and not denial, and you will see the beauty of Krishna's smile.
Oh, wow.
Only Krishna can beat death, so chant, chant, chant with every breath.
Jai, Hari Bol.
Haribol.
Excellent. Excellent. Everybody knocked it out of the park. I'm gonna spend a half an hour after we close just going over and over and over all your beautiful verses. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for partnering. Thank you for everything. We'll see you tomorrow for Wisdom Wednesday. In the meantime, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.